The average American who tries to save money manually, moving whatever is left at the end of the month, saves approximately 4.6% of their income. The average American who automates their savings and never sees the money in a checking account first, saves between 12% and 20%. Same income, same discipline. The only difference is the order in which money moves and which accounts it moves through. Today, we are building the exact bank account system that closes that gap. 4 accounts, 4 rules, 1 setup that runs itself. Here is the behavioral problem that manual saving cannot overcome, and it is not a discipline problem. It is a design problem. The human brain is wired to treat money that is visible and accessible as available for spending. When $4,000 lands in your checking account on the first of the month, your brain registers $4,000 as available. Bills reduce it, groceries reduce it, daily spending reduces it, and whatever is left on the 28th is what gets transferred to savings, if anything is left, if you remember, if you are not distracted by something more immediate. The American personal savings rate, tracked monthly by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, has averaged approximately 4.6% over recent years. That number is not primarily explained by insufficient income. The United States has one of the highest median household incomes in the world. The 4.6% savings rate is explained by a system design that puts spending first and saving last, and then treats the leftover as the savings rate. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research has found that workers auto-enrolled in 401k plans save at dramatically higher rates than workers who must actively opt in. Even when the default contribution rate is set relatively low, the mechanism is the same. When the transfer happens before the money is available to spend, people do not miss it, do not make an active decision to spend it, and do not experience the psychological pain of transferring it away from their checking account later in the month. Automatic saving bypasses the decision entirely. The 4-account system we are building today applies that same mechanism to every financial goal in your life simultaneously, not just retirement, but emergency fund, short-term goals, and daily spending management. It is not complicated. It takes approximately 90 minutes to set up, and once it is running, saving becomes the default instead of the exception. Here is the complete system. 4 accounts with 4 specific jobs. Every dollar that enters the system has a destination before it arrives. Account 1, the buffer checking account. This is not your main checking account. This is a plain checking account, ideally at a different institution from your primary bank, that receives your paycheck. You do not spend from this account. Nothing goes out from this account, except automated transfers to the other 3 accounts and your primary checking. Its only job is to receive income and distribute it according to the system you set up in advance. Think of it as a dispatcher. The paycheck lands here. The dispatcher sends it to the right destination. By the time you look at your primary checking, the saving has already happened. Account 2, the high-yield savings account for emergencies. Every financial plan needs a cash reserve that is liquid, accessible, and not mixed with spending money. In 2026, the best high-yield savings accounts are paying approximately 4.0% to 4.5% APY, compared to the national average savings account rate at traditional banks of 0.39% APY. On a $10,000 emergency fund, that is the difference between earning $39 per year and earning $400 to $450 per year. Not life-changing on its own, but it represents an extra $360 to $410 per year simply from where the account lives. This account is funded automatically from the buffer checking on payday, before any other money moves. Account 3, the goal-specific savings account. This account holds money for specific short to medium-term goals: a down payment, a vehicle replacement, a vacation, a home repair reserve. It is separate from the emergency fund because mixing emergency funds with goal funds leads to raiding the emergency fund for non-emergencies. The goal account is funded automatically from the buffer checking at a rate tied to your specific target and timeline. If you need $12,000 in 24 months, you need $500 per month going in automatically. That transfer is set up on payday. Account 4, the primary spending checking account. This account receives whatever is left after the emergency and goal transfers have already run. This is the account you pay bills from, use your debit card from, and manage your monthly expenses through. Because the saving has already happened at account 1 before this account receives anything. The balance here represents your actual available spending money, not your gross income minus some theoretical savings intention. You cannot accidentally spend the emergency fund or the goal savings because they are in different accounts that you do not access for daily spending. But here is the specific step most people skip when they set this up, and it is the step that determines whether the system runs on autopilot or falls apart in month 2. The step most people skip is calculating the exact dollar amounts before setting up any transfer. The system runs on autopilot only when every transfer amount is mathematically derived from your actual numbers, not rounded estimates or aspirational targets. Here is how to calculate each transfer amount. Emergency fund transfer. The target balance is 3 to 6 months of essential monthly expenses. Essential expenses are rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, minimum debt payments, and transportation. Nothing discretionary. If your essential monthly expenses are $3,200, your target emergency fund is $9,600 to $19,200. If you have zero saved, divide the lower target by 12 months. $9,600 divided by 12 is $800 per month. That is your automatic emergency fund transfer until the target is reached. Once it is reached, you stop this transfer or redirect it to the goal account. Goal savings transfer. Take your goal amount, divide by the number of months until you need it, and that is the transfer. $15,000 down payment in 30 months, $500 per month. This number is non-negotiable. It is derived from the goal, not from what feels comfortable. If $500 per month breaks the spending math, the goal timeline needs to extend, or the goal needs to be resized. But the transfer amount is always calculated from the target, not chosen based on comfort. Primary checking transfer. Total monthly after-tax income, minus the emergency transfer, minus the goal transfer, minus any 401k contributions already taken from your paycheck. What remains is transferred to the primary checking account on payday. That number is your real monthly spending budget. Not your income minus a vague savings intention, but your income minus the savings that have already left before you see it. The order of operations is the entire system. Paycheck lands in buffer checking, emergency transfer runs, goal transfer runs, investment transfer runs if applicable. Remainder goes to primary checking. That sequence, automated through your bank's settings, takes approximately 90 minutes to configure and runs every payday without any further action from you. Let us run the comparison with real numbers to show what the automated system produces versus the manual approach, starting from the same income. Household income, $72,000 gross, approximately $58,000 after federal, state, and payroll taxes. Monthly take-home, $4,833. Manual saving approach. Income lands in checking. Rent, $1,400. Utilities and groceries, $600. Transportation, $300. Subscriptions and miscellaneous, $400. Dining and entertainment, $450. At the end of the month, approximately $1,683 theoretically available. In practice, behavioral research shows that discretionary spending expands to fill available money. Actual savings rate under manual management at this income level, approximately 4.6%, or $222 per month. $222 per month, invested at 8% over 30 years, approximately $327,000. Automated system approach, same income, emergency fund transfer on payday, $400, until target is reached, then redirected. Goal savings transfer, $300. Investment account transfer, $500. Total removed before primary checking, $1,200. Primary checking receives, $3,633. Monthly expenses paid from that balance, $2,750. Remaining in checking for discretionary spending, $883. $500 per month, invested at 8% over 30 years, approximately $735,000. The difference between the two approaches, $408,000 in investment value over 30 years, from the same $72,000 income. The manual saver invested $222 per month, because that was what was left over. The automated saver invested $500 per month, because that was what was taken out first. The gap of $278 per month, the difference between $222 and $500, was spent on expanded discretionary items in the manual approach, because it was visible and available. And here is the element of this system that almost nobody builds in, but that accounts for the difference between the system surviving a bad month and collapsing in one. The system breaks when real life hits it with an irregular expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a high utility month, and the primary checking account cannot cover it. Most people respond to that situation by pausing the automated transfers. One pause becomes two. The system loses its automation. The saving reverts to the manual, leftover approach. This is the most common failure mode of every automated saving system. The solution is building two specific rules into the system before it launches. Rule 1. The buffer balance. The primary checking account should maintain a minimum standing balance of $500 to $1,000 above the typical monthly outflow. This buffer absorbs small irregular expenses, a $150 car repair, a higher grocery run, an unexpected prescription, without requiring the system to pause. The buffer is calculated when you set up the system, and the primary checking transfer is set to leave that minimum in place, rather than draining to zero. You fund the initial buffer from savings or tax refund before the system launches. Rule 2. The irregular expense category. Inside the primary checking, a monthly transfer of $100 to $200 goes into a separate line item or sub-account, specifically labeled for predictable irregular expenses, car maintenance, annual insurance premiums, medical co-pays, holiday spending. These expenses are not emergencies. They are predictable annual costs that people routinely treat as surprises because they do not appear on the monthly bill cycle. Averaging them monthly and funding them proactively is the difference between a system that survives every month and one that breaks every November when the car registration is due. If your annual irregular predictable expenses are $1,800, $600 in car maintenance, $400 in medical costs, $500 in holiday spending, $300 in annual subscriptions, that is $150 per month that belongs in a separate bucket, automatically transferred, so that when those bills arrive they are covered without touching the emergency fund, the goal savings, or the investment transfer. The system breaks when real life hits it with an irregular expense, a car repair, a medical bill, a high utility month, and the primary checking account cannot cover it. Most people respond to that situation by pausing the automated transfers. One pause becomes two. The system loses its automation. The saving reverts to the manual, leftover approach. This is the most common failure mode of every automated saving system. The solution is building two specific rules into the system before it launches. Rule 1. The buffer balance. The primary checking account should maintain a minimum standing balance of $500 to $1,000 above the typical monthly outflow. This buffer absorbs small irregular expenses, a $150 car repair, a higher grocery run, an unexpected prescription, without requiring the system to pause. The buffer is calculated when you set up the system, and the primary checking transfer is set to leave that minimum in place, rather than draining to zero. You fund the initial buffer from savings or tax refund before the system launches. Rule 2. The irregular expense category. Inside the primary checking, a monthly transfer of $100 to $200 goes into a separate line item or sub-account specifically labeled for predictable irregular expenses, car maintenance, annual insurance premiums, medical co-pays, holiday spending. These expenses are not emergencies. They are predictable annual costs that people routinely treat as surprises because they do not appear on the monthly bill cycle. Averaging them monthly and funding them proactively is the difference between a system that survives every month and one that breaks every November when the car registration is due. If your annual irregular predictable expenses are $1,800, $600 in car maintenance, $400 in medical costs, $500 in holiday spending, $300 in annual subscriptions, that is $150 per month that belongs in a separate bucket, automatically transferred, so that when those bills arrive they are covered without touching the emergency fund, the goal savings, or the investment transfer. The automated system works at any income level, but it compounds most powerfully when income growth is handled with a specific rule before the system adjusts. The default human behavior when income increases is for the primary checking transfer to increase by the full raise amount, which means the lifestyle spending budget increases by the full raise amount, and investment and savings transfers stay the same. This is the mechanism by which income growth fails to produce proportional wealth growth. The system rule for income increases is this: when gross income increases, the first action is to recalculate all 4 transfer amounts using the new income. Investment transfers increase by at least 50% of the net raise before the primary checking transfer increases at all. If a $5,000 annual raise produces $325 per month in additional take-home, the investment transfer increases by $162 per month before the primary checking transfer increases by $163. Lifestyle can improve, but it improves at half the rate of income growth. The other half compounds. Applied to 3 raises of $5,000 over a 10-year period, if 50% of each net raise is added to the investment transfer, the additional monthly investment grows from 0 to approximately $486 per month over the decade. At 8% average annual return, that incremental investment from raises alone compounds to approximately $100,000 by year 15 from the first raise, entirely from capturing half of income growth before lifestyle absorbs it. Brief note on where to open each account, because the account selection affects the yield and the behavioral friction of the system. Buffer checking, any no-fee checking account. Charles Schwab's investor checking has no foreign transaction fees and reimburses all ATM fees globally. Fidelity's cash management account operates similarly. The key criteria are no monthly fees and the ability to set up multiple automated transfers from a single account. High-yield savings for emergency fund and goal savings, Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, SoFi, and Discover, are consistently among the top-yielding savings accounts in 2026, typically ranging between 3.8% and 4.3% APY as of mid-year. The Bankrate Best High Yield Savings Accounts page publishes weekly updated rate comparisons at Bankrate.com margin/banking savings/best high yield interest savings accounts. Both the emergency fund and the goal savings can live at the same institution as separate accounts or as sub-buckets if the provider supports it. To simplify the transfer setup, investment account. If you have access to a 401k with an employer match, that transfer happens via payroll before any of this system activates. Capture the full match first. The IRA, or taxable brokerage contribution, is set up as an automated transfer from the buffer checking, running on the same schedule as the savings transfers. Here is the complete system in one frame. Buffer checking receives the paycheck. 4 automated transfers run immediately: emergency fund, goal savings, investment account, and primary checking for spending. The primary checking receives whatever remains after saving has already happened. You cannot accidentally spend the emergency fund or the goal savings because they are in separate accounts before you see the money. The manual approach produces a 4.6% savings rate on average, approximately $222 per month on a $72,000 income, because spending fills available money. The automated approach produces 12% to 20% because saving happens first and spending is bounded by what remains. The compounding difference over 30 years on the same income, approximately $408,000. The system takes 90 minutes to set up. The transfer amounts are calculated from your actual numbers, not aspirational targets. The buffer rule and the irregular expense category are the 2 elements that prevent the system from breaking under real-life pressure, and the income growth rule, directing 50% of every raise to investments before lifestyle adjusts, is what accelerates the system from adequate to exceptional over time.